one last person to speak for you all, a fighter for justice, a fighter for our communities, a fighter for the moral tomorrow. Please welcome Dr. William Reverend Barber.
I want you to, just a few things real quickly. One of them is, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, pride cometh before the fall. Yeah. What that simply means is, mean folk often go too far, and this time they've gone too far. Yeah. Don't believe that we've never been here before in this country. I was a little concerned about the narrative that said we've never seen the court take rights before. Yes, we have. 1852, the Dred Scott decision. The court was stacked intentionally. The Chief Justice was stacked. His name was Justice Taney. Slave holders were put on the Supreme Court to deliberately rule that black men, women had no rights that white people had to, slave owners had to ever abide by. But Frederick Douglass said something that we need to hear today in this fight. In his speech about 3 months after that decision, he said, this decision is monstrous, it's ugly, it's mean. He said, it looks like everybody's against us, the magistrates, the Supreme Court, the legislators, and all of that. And he said, somebody asked me, how did I feel about this? And he said this, because I know that there is another court higher than this Supreme Court, it is the Supreme Court of the Divine, and it is the Supreme Court of Justice. He said, and because I know the people will not gladly accept this, listen to this language, as monstrous as this decision is, I receive it with a cheerful spirit, because what I know is that every attempt to stop the abolition movement has only served to grow it. And then he said, could it be that this is a necessary link in the chain of events for the downfall of the entire system of slavery? Could it be that this overreach, this ugly, immoral overreach, is a necessary link in the chain of events necessary to finally make reproductive rights a national law once and for all? So when Douglass said that, he then said, therefore, no matter what they think, this decision will only intensify and embolden our agitation. How many of y'all feel a little intensity happening in America? How many of you feel some emboldening in our nonviolent agitation in America? I want to make 4 points. I was reading this morning that Israel has erased its regulations on abortion access, and the reason they're doing it, its regulation, because they say in Israel that the decision in the United States has taken us back 100 years, and many of the so-called evangelicals that are always clamoring about support Israel, they don't even support Israel, because Israel supports women and women's reproductive rights. And they just said it. The second point I want to make, that this is an attack fundamentally on the 14th Amendment. Somebody say equal protection under the law for all persons. Once you attack that's not just an attack on women. That's an attack on the very heart of the democracy, because the 14th Amendment saved the Constitution. The 14th Amendment was the rebirthing of America. And if you undermine the 14th Amendment, every progressive policy from ADA laws to labor rights to living wages to voting rights to civil rights to women's reproductive rights, all of them are rooted in the principle of the 14th Amendment, equal protection under the law. Can you all repeat this after me? Equal protection under the law is non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable. Third thing I want to say to you is some try to couch this as a pure religious issue. Glad we're meeting in a church today. Because that's a lot of hypocrisy. They say that they want to protect life. Well, where is your voice? When 700 people die every day from poverty and 250,000 from a year, where is your voice? When 300,000 have died during COVID because we didn't provide folk universal health care. Where is your voice? When poor and low-wealth people died at a rate 2 to 5 times higher during COVID because we called them essential and treated them like expendable. This is really not about life and death. This is about the powerful few and a few mostly white men trying to decide how they're going to act with women's bodies. That's all. And lastly, there is something deeply immoral when you would be willing to use your power not to give people universal health care, not to protect a woman's reproductive rights, not to provide people living wages, not to provide people voting rights, but you get up in the morning and say the best use of my power is to give a rapist more power over a woman's body than me. You think the best use of power is to give somebody who commits incest more power over a woman's body than she has. The best use of your power is to use it to give death more power over a woman's body than she has. That is not a proper use of power. That is an abuse of power. And we have to challenge. One last thing. I heard this morning that the president said he would be for ending the filibuster to deal with abortion law. Good, but problematic. Because the reason we have these judges on the court and all of these regressive legislatures is because the court first went after voting rights, 2013, and gutted voting rights. So we have to make sure we don't make a mistake and separate ourselves again. They want us separated. The truth of the matter is the same people that attack a woman's right to her body are the same ones that deny health care. They're the same ones that deny the right to vote, that suppress the right to vote. They're the same ones that block living wages for the poor. And what we must say in this moment, if they are cynical enough to be together, we are smart enough to come together and bring all of our silos together. No separation. In the damn filibuster, it's not. It's not constitutional. The only time it is used to be regressive. Every time it's ever been used, it's been used for that purpose. It undermines women's rights. It undermines voting rights. It undermines the rights of this democracy. We want one man, one woman, one vote. We want a fair democracy in the filibuster. And so, as we get ready to march, and you follow the abortion, the leaders here, the reproductive rights and abortion leaders, that are here that are going to lead us over to the Capitol. Somebody said that a woman's right is on the ballot. I want to say a woman's reproductive rights is on the ballot. Voting rights is on the ballot. Living wages is on the ballot. Health care is on the ballot. Addressing poverty is on the ballot. Immigrant justice is on the ballot. Democracy is on the ballot. We need everybody to get a ballot, fill out a ballot, cast a ballot. We must have the most moral, massive, progressive vote out, turnout ever in the history of the United States. Politician that benefits from this massive turnout, don't play with us this time. If we put you in, you better make abortion rights a national law. If we put you in, you better pass living wages. If we put you in, you better pass health care. If we put you in, you better expand and protect voting rights. If we put you in, then you better protect this democracy and everybody in it. Otherwise, in 2024, we won't just cast the ballot, we will primary everybody in every party. It's time to declare in America, we won't back down. Not ever. Not now. Not ever. And we don't have to use violence. We don't have to use lies. We don't have to use meanness. And we don't have to be an insurrection. All we got to do is be a resurrection of our greatest moral power. I'll see you at the steps. God bless you. Stay in your seat, please.